Margaret of Scotland, a name synonymous with piety, resilience, and ultimately, sainthood, remains one of the most compelling and enigmatic figures in medieval Scottish history. Born around 1045, Margaret was the youngest of 5 children born to Edward the Exile, son of King Edward the Confessor of England, and his wife, Agatha, a niece of the Norwegian king Olaf II Haraldsson. Her early life was far from tranquil. Edward the Exile's ambitions to reclaim the English throne had led to exile from England, and Margaret's family found themselves caught in the cross-currents of Anglo-Saxon and Scandinavian politics. The political landscape of the time was turbulent. The Norman conquest of England in 1066 dramatically altered the power dynamics of the British Isles, forcing the exiled English nobility to seek refuge wherever they could. Margaret's childhood was spent primarily in Hungary, where her father served as a courtier in the royal household. It was in Hungary that she received a Christian education, fostering a deep and unwavering faith that would define her life. Her upbringing instilled in her a profound respect for the church and a strong sense of moral responsibility, shaping her into a woman known for her generosity, compassion, and unwavering commitment to religious principles. The death of Edward the Exile and her brother Edmund in 1055 left Margaret and her sister Christina orphans, placing them in a precarious position amidst the shifting alliances and power struggles of the era. Fearing for their safety, Margaret and Christina were sent to Scotland, then ruled by Malcolm III, a king known for his ambition and frequently engaged in conflicts with his southern neighbors, the Kingdom of Northumbria. They arrived in Scotland in 1068 and were initially received as guests, though the circumstances of their arrival were more complex than a simple act of hospitality. Malcolm III, a widower, was seeking a politically advantageous marriage. Margaret's initial reluctance to marry the Scottish king is a testament to her strong convictions and determination. She resisted Malcolm's advances for a considerable period, adhering to a vow of celibacy she had taken in her youth. Malcolm, however, was persistent, and eventually, through a combination of persuasion and divine intervention, as later accounts suggest, Margaret agreed to become his queen. Their marriage in 1070 marked a pivotal moment not only in Margaret's life but also in the history of Scotland, ushering in a period of significant religious and cultural reform. Margaret's influence on Malcolm was profound. She actively encouraged him to embrace a more devout and morally upright rule, challenging existing customs and advocating for the implementation of stricter religious practices. One of her earliest and most impactful acts was the reform of the Scottish Church. Previously, the Scottish Church had maintained close ties with the Celtic traditions and customs, which differed significantly from the practices of the Roman Catholic Church. Margaret actively promoted Romanesque religious practices and sought to bring the Scottish Church more closely in line with the Roman liturgical standards. This involved the establishment of new monasteries, the introduction of Romanesque architecture, and the appointment of Reformed clergy. She played a key role in the founding of the Cistercian Abbey of Selkirk in 1075, bringing the Reformed Cistercian order to Scotland and solidifying her commitment to religious renewal. Margaret's personal piety was exemplary. She devoted much of her time to prayer, charitable works, and the education of her children, instilling in them the same values of faith and compassion that guided her own life. She actively supported the poor and the sick, providing them with food, shelter, and medical assistance. Her generosity extended to all those in need, regardless of their social status or background. Malcolm and Margaret had several children, including Edward, who would succeed his father as King of Scotland, and David, who would later rule as King of Scotland and also become King of the Eastern Roman Empire. Margaret's influence also extended to the political realm. She often advised Malcolm on matters of state, advocating for policies that promoted justice, peace, and the common good. However, Her unwavering commitment to religious principles sometimes brought her into conflict with those who clung to traditional Scottish customs or opposed her efforts at reform. These tensions occasionally created friction within the royal court. In 1093, Malcolm III was killed in battle against the Northumbrians at the Battle of Alnwick, a tragic event that left Margaret widowed and profoundly grief-stricken. The loss of her husband marked a turning point in her life. Despite her personal sorrow, Margaret remained steadfast in her faith and devoted herself to the care of her children and the well-being of Scotland. She refused offers of remarriage, choosing to dedicate her life to spiritual pursuits. The death of Malcolm, however, unleashed a series of events which would lead to Margaret's own demise. Her sons, particularly Duncan II, engaged in a power struggle for the throne, further destabilizing the kingdom. Margaret attempted to mediate between her sons and restore peace, but her efforts were ultimately unsuccessful. Her increasing involvement in the political turmoil made her a target for those who sought to exploit the situation. In 93, while traveling to meet her son Duncan at Edinburgh, Margaret was murdered by a group of Northumbrian rebels who were opposed to her influence and sought to destabilize the Scottish throne. Her death sent shockwaves throughout Scotland and beyond. Her death was attributed to the machinations of Eustace III, Earl of Moray, and others who sought to control the succession. The circumstances surrounding her assassination remain a subject of historical debate. Margaret's death was met with widespread mourning. The Scottish people revered her as a saintly figure, and her memory quickly became intertwined with the story of Scottish national identity. Her sons, Edgar and Alexander, swiftly avenged her death, pursuing and executing her assassins. This act of retribution solidified the legitimacy of their rule and further enhanced Margaret's reputation as a martyred queen. Canonization efforts began almost immediately after her death. Margaret was formally canonized as a saint by the papacy in 1250, solidifying her place as Scotland's patron saint. The cult of Saint Margaret flourished throughout the medieval period, and numerous miracles were attributed to her intercession. Her image became a symbol of Scottish piety and national pride. Numerous churches and shrines were dedicated to her memory, and her relics became objects of pilgrimage. The Abbey of Dunfermline, founded by Margaret and Malcolm, became a major center of her cult. St. Margaret's legacy extends far beyond her religious significance. She is remembered as a remarkable woman who profoundly shaped the cultural, religious and political landscape of medieval Scotland. Her commitment to justice, her unwavering faith, and her charitable works continue to inspire generations of Scots and others around the world. The story of Queen Margaret of Scotland is a testament to the enduring power of faith, resilience, and compassion, a story that continues to resonate across the centuries. Her life, though marked by tragedy and political turmoil, stands as a beacon of hope and inspiration, solidifying her place as one of Scotland's most beloved and venerated figures.